Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So we are in the meta guide for the Galar Cup Great League Edition. Now we had the Galar Cup Little Edition earlier in the season, right? The season kicked off with it, but now we have the Great League Edition for the Galar Cup, which is really exciting. So it's going to be Pokemon that are eligible in the Sword and Shield Pokédex, basically, right? The same for the Little Cup, except 1500 CP, of course, so it's going to be a different meta. Now, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. So, this Cup, the Galar Cup, as well as the Open Great League, will be running alongside each other. So you can play whichever one you prefer, two Great League metas, but I'm definitely going to be starting off with this one. I may transition back into the Open Great League if I don't really care for this meta. We'll see. But let's dive right into it and see what we got going on for us. So for the S rank, we got the Diggersby kicking us off with number one. You better believe it. Diggersby, you know, none of Diggersby's moves were buffed this season, but I feel like it got a buff. Yeah, that's what it feels like. I mean, it's just such a good Pokemon. Granted, it was good before, but it just feels better this season. Whether it be in the Play Pokemon circuit or in like the Open Great League, it just feels so much better, and it's going to do really well in the Galar Cup as well. And then we have Mandibuzz, is a Pokemon that Diggersby doesn't really want to see. But if Diggersby is running Quick Attack, that's another thing I wanted to mention. It technically was nerfed because Mudshot was nerfed, right? It's taking longer to make it to the moves. But you just run Quick Attack on the Diggersby, which was not nerfed. So yeah, again, Mandibuzz now. Mandibuzz, super bulky, super thick. So Pokemon that I see no reason why it wouldn't do well. I mean, we do have some fairy types that it does have to watch out for, but if it doesn't align to them, it's going to be looking pretty good. Clefable being one of those fairy types, this one was buffed this season with Swift. Fairy Wind was also buffed, doing slightly more damage. So Clefable, as we all know, really, really strong Pokemon. And then we have Toxapex, a Pokemon Clefable does not want to see, but Toxapex is so thick. It's just going to do really well. It just wants to avoid the Mud Slappers, right? Obviously it wants to avoid Diggersby because of the Scorching Sands. So ground types it doesn't like. But other than that, you're looking really good. Then we have another fairy type, Togetic. Togetic I actually do think will do pretty well in this meta. If you have one built, I do have one built. I don't know if it's good or not, but I do have one built. So definitely a Pokemon that you can give a try to. And then we have Galarian Weezing, yet another fairy type. So Galarian Weezing, of course, again, Fairy Wind as well as Brutal Swing were buffed. And then the other move could go either way. I feel like in this meta, I feel like you're going to want Play Rough. It also obviously has Overheat, but you definitely want that Brutal Swing. Galarian Weezing, I've seen a lot of in the Open Ultra League this season. So Galarian Weezing, definitely going to be one to watch out for. And then we have a Mudslap user, Gastrodon. We've been seeing this Pokemon time and time again this season in the Open Great League. I've also seen it in the Open Ultra League a lot as well. So it's definitely here to stay, at least until they nerf Mudslap at some point in the future, if they do. But no, it's really fun. It's refreshing. It's a different Mudboy compared to the ones we've been seeing, like Quagsire and Wishcash, right? Or Swampert. Gastrodon is really powerful. Going to be doing well against all these poison types, like Toxapex, like Weezing, right? Drapion, Quillfish, a lot of poison types, and even when it's doing neutral damage because of the pacing on Mudslap and the damage increase this season, even against neutral Pokemon, it's doing pretty well at like Clefable, for example. So it just doesn't want to see flying types like Mandibuzz and Togetic for the most part. It can't see those Pokemon, but it's a great Pokemon. And then we have Drapion or the Shadow Vision. I like the Shadow one, to be honest. But yeah, another great Pokemon. I think it's a great safe swap. It really, really wants to avoid the Mud Slappers. That's why if you safe swap it, you do have to be careful. But even then, if you get slightly ahead on energy, I mean, the Crunches are still going to do a lot from the Shadow Drapion. Moving on to the A rank, we do have Dusknoir or Shadow Dusknoir. I personally prefer the Shadow one. So I would go ahead and build the Shadow one if you have it, because Astonish is just going to do so much damage. They've increased the damage on Astonish. It's a good move now, and we've seen it. So yeah, Dusknoir is going to do pretty well. And then we have the Cantonian Ninetales. Fire Spin was actually buffed this season. It also has Ember, so I think we'll see the Kanto Ninetales. Quagsire, even though it was technically nerfed because of Mudshot, The pacing to it still pretty fast, really fast, right? So I still think Quagsire is relevant and will be good in this meta. Maybe if you want to do double water or something, you could go Gastrodon, Quagsire, but I do think Quagsire is really good. I like the Gastrodon more, but Quagsire, not a bad one. Then we have Gallade or Shadow Gallade, so the pacing on Gallade is insane. To Leaf Blade, it takes 4 Psycho Cuts and then 5 to get to close combat, so really, really fast on Gallade, so definitely a Pokemon to watch out for. And then we have Ninetales, the Alolan version. You could go Charm and Powder Snow. I personally like the Charm variant in this meta, but both of them could see play. Just really wants to avoid the poison types, right? Obviously, the fire types if you happen to battle like the Ninetales, or a Fire Fang Mawile, for example. Another Mud Slap user, we have Shadow Golurk. So if you happen to, I actually do have one. I just don't have it's not good, like the IV's not good, but I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point, right? It doesn't really matter. Just use what you have. If you have like a bad IV Shadow one, who cares? Or even a regular one, just go ahead and use it. Because the thing is, this thing can't take a hit no matter what IVs it is. It has, right? So Mud Slap, obviously super powerful. Could go like double Mud Slap users, which I'm sure we'll see, because there's a lot of poison types like Quillfish. I think Quillfish will be another great poison type. Because of how spammy it is with Poison Sting, right? So Poison Sting obviously getting to the Aqua Tail really fast. It also has Ice Beam. It has Sludge Wave, really depending on your moveset. Moving on to the B rank, we do have Whimsicott, yet another Fairy type with Fairy Wind. So getting to the C-Bomb, getting to the Moonblast pretty fast. Then we have Pangoro. Pangoro and Machamp, both fighting types. Both have Karate Chop. Now, it is a legacy move on Machamp, so something to keep in mind. And then Machamp has Stone Edge, which is also a legacy move. And then Pangoro just gets to the Night Slash and close combat really fast. So both of them are frail, right? But they're still really strong. And then we have Sableye. Sableye, generally a great safe swap, but we do have some fairy types it does have to watch out for. And then we have Steelix. I think Steelix could be pretty good with the Dragon Tail and then the Psychic Fangs as well as the Crunch. And then moving on to the other options, we have Wishcash, yet another Mud Boy. Quagsire will be better, and even better than that, I think Gastrodon or I just don't think it's going to see a whole lot of play. You might see it here or there, but the pacing is not as good, obviously, because of the Mudshot nerf this season. But still, it is an option for you. And then we have Machoke, a Shadow Machoke. You probably want to go with Machamp or Pangoro, but Machoke also has Karate Chop, so not a bad Pokemon as well. And then we have Watergun. Watergun Lantern I would go with. Watergun is going to be doing a lot of neutral damage, right? And obviously, if it's resisting it, like Toxapex, it's not going to be great. But even then, you could make it to the Thunderbolt. Maybe threaten a shield. Although Toxapex is so bulky, you probably wouldn't get a shield. But it's going to do well against like the Digger's Beast. So I think a Watergun variant on Lantern might be pretty good. And then Mawile with, well, it has Fairy Wind, but it also has Fire Fang. Which moveset would you prefer? Let me know. Fire Fang might be a little bit too risky just because of all the Pokemon that resist it. Like, there's like a decent amount of water types. So you might want to go with the Fairy Wind just to get to the moves fast, right? And then we have Skunk Tank or Shadow Skunk Tank. I think Drapion is better, but Skunk Tank is another option as well. Then we have Abomasnow or Shadow Abomasnow. And then Hakamo-o as a Dragon type. But so many fairy types, I feel like we're not going to see Hakamo-o as much at all. Runerigus. So Runerigus, I believe this thing got Brutal Swing this season, didn't it? So pretty cool. We might see some Runerigus action. Frostlass as another ice type. Malamar. So Malamar, Malamar was buffed with Psywave this season. It is really good. We see it in the Open Great and Ultra League a lot this season. So maybe it could be ranked higher. I just didn't rank it that much higher just because of all the fairy types. Obviously, it wants to avoid those, right? It doesn't really appreciate Mandibuzz either. I mean, I guess you have some play there with Superpower, but then you kind of have to dip. That's why I put it lower, but it is a good Pokemon, so we might see this a decent amount. We'll see. And then we have Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn as a grass type. I mean, could be a pretty good grass steel type. And then we have Galiciopod. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the solid team options right now. So for the first team, we have a lot of ABB teams that I added. We'll see how the teams play out. We have Double Fairy. I put Clefable and Togetic. Now, I like having a flyer on this team. That's why I have Double Fairy with Togetic. Because of the Mud Slap uses, obviously Togetic heavily resisting Mud Slap, even though the others are not weak to Mud Slap anyway. But you could go with another fairy type. You could go with Whimsicott as well, because that's also resisting Mud Slap. So if you want to go that route, you could. Instead of Togetic or even Clefable. And then we have Diggersby in the lead. Obviously, the backline hates poison, but Diggersby is a ground type, so it loves poison types with Scorching Sands, whether it be Drapion, whether it be Toxapex, Quillfish, right? So I think the team could work out pretty well. And then we have double Mud Slap uses. I did mention this a little bit earlier that I think double Mud Slap might be good. Gastrodon and Shadow Golurk. I would go with the Shadow Golurk if you have it. If you don't have it, go with the regular one. And then I put Alola Ninetales in the lead. Mud Slap users do not want to see flying types like Mandibuzz or Togetic, right? And obviously the Charm Ninetales, or I guess you could go Powder Snow, but I would go Charm. Going to do really well against Mandibuzz, and then it's kind of like neutral against like the Togetic. But you really need to lure one of those out if you think one of them might be on the team with probably... or one of your back line, right? Maybe the Golurk, just because you get to the Shadow Punches really fast, and if you're doing the Shadow damage, then you're doing a lot. But the back line obviously going to do really well against the Poison types. Next up, we have actually double Poison with Drapion and Quillfish, so double Poison Sting, and then Mandibuzz in the lead. The back line not going to appreciate the Mud Slap users. That's why I put a Flying type in the lead, like Mandibuzz. So yeah, we'll see how this team works as well. Another team, we have Double Ghost. So we've seen Fairy Double Ghost in the Open Great League in the past. Azu, right? Azu Double Ghost. So I put Galarian Weezing. You could replace it with another Fairy type if you want to, like a Togetic or Clefable. And then I put Dusknoir with the Astonish. I would recommend the Shadow one. And then when it comes to the Sableye, you could go Shadow because Power Gem was buffed. I still like the Purified one with Return. Nice coverage there, but could go either one. But yeah, I mean, I think the team could work out pretty well. And then next up, we have double fighters. So we have Machamp, a Shadow Machamp. I'd personally go with the Shadow one, and Pangoro, and then Toxapex in the lead. So we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, the backline hates fairies, but Toxapex does great against the fairy types. And then next up, we have Whimsicott in the lead with Diggersby and Mandibuzz. So I think Diggersby can be a pretty good safe swap, even if they respond with a Pokemon you don't want to see, right? For example, the Mandibuzz. The Quick Attacks is still neutral, and then the Fire Punch or Hyper Beam, if you want to go that route, still neutral. So it's actually not a terrible matchup for the Diggersby, right? So yeah, let me know what you think of these teams. Let me know what meta you plan on playing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.